Good morning. This is Sri Primo here with a quick recap of the two games that took place in the NCAA men's basketball um, yesterday, that happened yesterday. So you had two games yesterday. Florida played their SEC rival Auburn, and Duke took on Houston. And this is the first time all four number one seeds made the Final Four, matched only by 2008 tournament. So let's quickly go down to um, the first game between Florida and Auburn. Uh, that was the first game that took place in San Antonio. Florida emerged victorious with a final score of 79-73. Another close game for Florida. Another game where Walton Clayton Jr. comes up huge um, in this game. I remember how he came back in the UConn game. So they trailed by 9 points in the second half. Auburn was leading 46-38 at halftime. Impressive performance by the Gators mounting that comeback. Uh, as I mentioned, Clayton Jr. scored 34 points, five three-pointers. Um, and just like great players do, took over in the second half. Played just amazing. Elijah Martin, 17 points, as well was the pick of the Gators offense. Um, Johnny Brome started very strong for Auburn, 12 points, but then having elbow and ankle injury, just scored only 3 points after halftime. Florida's defense took over in the second half. Um, and Chad Baker Mazzara led Auburn with 18 points. But one of the things that happened in the second half was the Auburn went really cold. Shot 8 for 24 in the second half, and almost 12 turnovers in the game. And considering they only committed 2 turnovers in the first half, they almost played a flawless game, led by 8. And then Florida's defense and Auburn's turnovers, and then of course the impressive um, performance by Walter Clayton Jr. just took over. They stepped up really well. Florida did. They held. Auburn scored 46 in the first half. They only scored 27 in the second. Um, so they really struggled in the second half. And those 14 turnovers, both in uh, the whole game, uh, turned into 16 points for the Gators. So Clayton hit a big 3 point play, and it's actually a 4 point play, a 3 point play in the closing end of the game when it was like a minute and a half change, and that put Florida up by 6, and Auburn really struggled to come back. Auburn made like a late three, but it was too late at the time. Um, when you have this is almost like a rematch of the regular season game that they played in this year. Um, Florida did beat Auburn on the road. One thing that's very clear, Florida seems like the team of destiny. Um, they have already won two championships um, in the past. Actually, they won back to back. Billy Donovan did. And right now, can Florida win their third? It's the big question on Monday. Now, let's quickly go down to the next match, which is the Cougars and Duke. This will go down as one of the best games in the tournament all time. And I'll recollect another game that happened for Duke many, many years ago. But the comeback that Houston had, it was electrifying. They were trailing by 14 points with 8 minutes to go. And the Cougars from Houston mounted like an amazing comeback. It was stunning to see the meltdown in Duke. Uh, Duke was very good. Let's come down to the early part of the game. Duke was dominant. They controlled the game early. The first half was between both the teams was very, very poor. I call it Brick City. They couldn't make a basket. Duke took on late after Cooper Flag made some good threes. um, and Duke took the lead, and I think Houston made a good comeback towards the end of the first half, and then Duke was coasting along, you would say, with a 14-point lead, and it seemed like Houston didn't have all the answers at the time. But the Houston's comeback all begins with their defense. Kelvin Sampson's team, uh, they had relentless pressure in the last 8 minutes. They ramped it up physically too, very aggressive. That threw Dew off guard and pretty much disrupted their offensive rhythm. The Cougars just held Duke to 8 points in the last 8 minutes. That is just incredible considering the potent offense that Duke had throughout the year. Um, and for Houston, um, the guy Crier was the man who led the comeback. Um, Emmanuel Sharp was just phenomenal. I mean, 3-pointer with 33 seconds to go, just pretty much slicing Duke's lead to 3 points at that time. And we'll get down to the actual how it all happened. But when you look at what Duke did, they were leading by 14 with 8 minutes to go, led by 9 with 2:06 to go. And that reminds me of the UConn game against Duke back in 2004 when Rashard Anderson hit a key three with 2 minutes and change to go, when Duke was up by 8 or 9. Duke was actually up by 6 points with 34 seconds left, and they led by three, and I think they even led by one with 19 seconds to go, and then Cooper flagged. Everything was going well for that play. Cooper had a wide open shot. That shot would have definitely put Duke as a winner. But as you would say, Houston played amazing. They gave everything on the court. They came back. The last 8 minutes was just stifling defense, and Duke could not do anything there, despite their talent. Duke definitely, uh, crumbled under pressure, and they couldn't score in the last 8 minutes. And for with 3 seconds and change to go, uh, when after Cooper missed it, they sank. Houston had to still sink two free throws, giving Houston their first lead of the game. In fact, that was the only lead of the game. And for key players in the comeback for Houston, you had Crier, who scored 26 points. His 6 3-pointers were the ones that kept Duke in the game, had Houston in the game, not just in the second half, but also in the first half when Duke was almost running away with the game. Crier will hit a three, and then Emmanuel Sharp played 3-pointer and free throws. That was the key uh, in that game. So uh, that's the story of the game. I mean, Houston's physicality took over. Duke did have a young roster, as we know. I mean, they have been playing lights out in the tournament. Um, the Duke were definitely seemed like they were completely exhausted by that, by the physical nature of the Cougars. And the defense of the Cougars took over, as I mentioned, and it was a testament to their disciplined way they play, the disciplined way they're coached. And then the momentum shift. The defense always wins championships, they say, and the momentum shift happened at the 8 minute mark, and Duke could never come back. It's a great masterclass of resiliency. They kept at it. Um, they pushed Duke. They made Duke commit a lot of turnovers in the second half, and that's why they are playing for the national championship um, on Monday. So with that, we come back to the Florida and Houston. Uh, it, and I think when I look at it, I think Florida should be favored in that game. Florida with Walter Clayton Jr. and John Crier and Crier from Houston would be the players to watch in the matchup. But I think if you ask me for my early prediction for this game, I would pick Florida, considering They seem to be like the team of destiny. They have escaped so many close games, including the one against UConn, where UConn was up by 6, with about 2 minutes to go and change. But I, everybody was rooting for a Florida and Duke championship game. I mean, they were clearly the two best teams in the nation going into this tournament. But if Houston has proved something, their resiliency, their defensive intensity, and their coaching by Kelvin Sampson really puts them in a good spot to make an upset against Florida on Monday. So let's see who comes out on top. I really feel that um, Houston's defense and Florida's offense will be things to watch on Monday, and looking forward to that great matchup on Monday. So with that, this tournament has come to one more game, and it's been fun to watch. I mean, this was the year that we talked about before. The Cinderella slipper didn't fit. A lot of the big power conferences muscle their way into the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, and the fact that the four number ones finally were the last four standing, that kind of shows you that in this day and age of NIL, is that a trend that we will see for the next few years, or this is a 1 year thing? That remains to be seen, but for now, kudos to Houston and Florida for winning their games. There were two amazing games that we saw yesterday. It held our attention. It captured the nation's imagination. And with that, I'd like to end this podcast by saying, go Cougars, go Gators. And we'll see you Monday or Tuesday for the recap. Thanks again for listening.